Well, hello, my name is Lauren Invick. I am the Associate Business Editor at Mashable. And today I have with me Josh Stinchcomb, Vice President of Corporate Partnerships at Conde Nast. I have Aliza Licht, who is the Senior Vice President of Communications at Donna, Karan, also known as DKNY, PR Girl, and Rachel Tipograph, who is the Global Director of Digital and Social Media at Gap. And today we're going to talk about a topic I find deeply interesting, which is content and commerce. So, over the past few years, we've seen brands, retailers invest significant resources in developing online content. That's for their websites, for their blogs, for social media. What's driving that trend? And, when did that happen and why?
Yeah, I think the idea of sort of brand publishing, custom publishing has been around for forever. But I think it's just gotten easier for brands to aggregate audiences on their own through social platforms or through more sophisticated CRM initiatives. It's sort of a natural step to then think about sort of beginning to cultivate a relationship with those consumers through content. So I think that's been the tipping point from my perspective.
Yeah, for sure. Even before all of this, I think brands have done it in print forever. I remember in the 90s, I've been with Donna Karan for 14 years. We had a publication. It was a hardbound, perfect bound magazine called Woman to Woman that was completely content and nothing to do at all, obviously, with commerce. You'd hope someone would look at the clothes and maybe think to buy them, but it was back then. So I think it's a natural evolution of, making sure the user experience is something more than just, no offense, Home Depot buying a light bulb.
Yeah, I think it's more of a reality of the social web. Content is the currency of the social web. We're not trading money. We're not trading baseball cards. We're all looking to trade content. So as a brand and as a publisher, mostly for a publisher, that's wonderful because all of a sudden your service is highly valuable. And for a brand, you can't just create a print ad or a commercial a year. You actually have to create fresh content daily. So this is a new demand in the marketplace.
Now, Rachel and Aliza, you guys are producing online content. Presumably you've hired a little bit more in that area over the last few years. Can you sort of explain your investment in that space and what you guys are doing?
Well, actually, we were talking about this before. I think every brand is different. We have a lot of people at Donna Karan who have been at Donna Karan for a very long time, and it's a very sort of organic environment. And it's the kind of place where we take on a lot ourselves and we get excited about new projects because after a while, you're doing traditional PR or traditional marketing. It's exciting to take on new media, digital, et cetera. So we actually took it on top of our normal day jobs. It's true. And so what's interesting is sort of where traditional media meets new media and having the same brains who really know the brands inside and out sort of tackle this new space. So the teams are the teams. Now we sort of carve out, I was telling Rachel, social media was my little gig on the side of my normal job. So,
and it's my full-time job.
Yeah, I'm gonna be her. So it's very different, I think, where we are, and we're excited by the fact that they didn't look to add new people, that we got the opportunity to sort of embark on something new.
At Gap, we've had to make significant changes within our marketing team and in our overall organization. And there's a few different trends that I would say are happening right now, not just at retail, but any major brand. And that is, there is a demand now for editorial. So you could go about this in the traditional way, where one would hire an advertising agency and outsource that, but that gets very expensive very quickly. You could go another route where you decide to build an editorial team internally, but to get headcount at a global brand is often quite difficult. You can go a third route where you choose to partner much more closely with publishers, which is the route that we at Gap have chosen to go. And I'll talk about Style Buy hopefully a little bit later and how we're partnering with publishers today. And then finally, the fourth, which is community management. So in the last 5 years, I think the community manager role has completely evolved. Usually it was, it's for the intern, or we'll pay this person $25,000 and they'll have it covered. But that's not it at all. This is a critical role in anyone's organization. And at Gap, what we've been doing is hiring either journalists or fashion or lifestyle bloggers who have had proven success in the marketplace. So it doesn't really matter how much marketing experience you have. This is a content creation role.
Mm-hmm. Just to add, you reminded me. We basically take our traditional marketing ideas and marry them with new media and then have these kind of unique partnerships with outside people who we know. For example, like Stylecaster sometimes produces great video content for us, or we have a partnership with New York Magazine, who we have a blogger who contributes to like our blog Notes on a City. So we sort of spearhead what the content's going to be, and then we look for partners in the space that we think do a great job to sort of expand what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're doing at Gap. And if you look at the publisher side, like I look at someone like Refinery 29, and Refinery 29 recognizes that advertisers today want content and have pretty much created an advertising agency within Refinery 29. Now, when I speak to more traditional publishers about this, they're almost uncomfortable about this idea, and I'd love to hear from Conde and Nast how they feel. But they're not structured to do this, and this is the demand of not just Gap, but I'm sure every other brand in the marketplace.
But just to add, I mean, same with Who, What, Where. I mean, it's more of, you know, you look at Refinery 29. I mean, we just did a handbag collab with Refinery 29 because I believe, and the people who I work with believe, that Refinery 29 in of itself is a brand that has a design aesthetic that you can picture. So it makes perfect sense. It's different than a magazine. It's not, I think, or. I think it's and. I mean, you can best say it, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm curious. I mean, you're saying that these publishers aren't structured in a way to accommodate what you're looking to do. I mean, how is Conde Nast saying the same thing? How are you guys responding to that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, you know, there's sort of a broad spectrum of content, right? And you know, there's a big difference between a 20,000 word piece in the New Yorker and, you know, an ongoing sort of, you know, Twitter conversation. I think both are valid and both serve a purpose for consumers. And there are some that, you know, traditional or, you know, full-time publishing companies are better suited to execute, and some that I think it's great that brands are beginning to execute on their own. You know, from my perspective, I see this as an opportunity for Conde Nast. You know, we've, you know, both structurally and sort of philosophically, you know, organized ourselves to be a resource to brand partners, to create content on their behalf or in conjunction. You know, I think it's great that, you know, as you're thinking more about, again, cultivating an ongoing relationship with the consumer beyond selling them something, you know, that's sort of more akin to what our core business is, and I think that creates opportunities. And I think consumers, you know, have different expectations when they come to, you know, a Vanity Fair versus, you know, going and reading content from a brand. Not that, you know, either are invalid or not useful, but I think they serve different purposes, you know, for the consumer, kind of where they are in their journey, where they are in their relationship to your brand already. So I see it, you know, as a really nice compliment. And we've done, you know, a number of collaborations. We've, you know, created content for Tourneau's website. We publish a beauty magazine for Walmart. We've done, you know, what I would consider editorial collaboration with Gap, where we had GQ get men's designers and do capsule collections and create an in-store experience. I think that is content. That's a collaboration in content that I think is, you know, better for the consumer because we're both involved. So
I mean,
it's exciting.
It's not even, you know, the poor advertorial concept gets no credit because this has been around forever. And more prevalently in Asia, I would say, it's more sort of okay for a brand like, you know, here, you know, I mean, personally, for us, we're not so keen on an advertorial and putting that out there. But in Asia, it's so commonplace, and no one looks down upon the idea that you are paying for this publication to really sort of shape your brand in the way that they do their normal books. So,
yeah, in Japan, every magazine is
totally
like that. And we ended up taking those same principles and applying it to our situation at Gap this year. So we're a turnaround brand. It's been an amazing time to be at the company because it's an iconic American brand that in the last decade has gone through some troubles. And we're finally getting back to our roots, and one of our roots is youth culture. But meanwhile, we had this business challenge where our core customer was a 44-year-old woman. So how do you get a younger customer to start considering you? A customer that definitely wore Baby Gap, definitely wore Gap Kids, but then just disappeared. They went
like they had a choice in what they wore when they were of age.
And so what we chose to do is exactly what you were saying was we recognize that, one, content is the social currency of the web. So you have to make pretty damn good content if you want people to share it. The second is, wait, Gap is not in the business of creating content, so we're going to go to experts. Third is, these new media properties today, like Who, What, Where, and Lookbook.new, they all have their own brand equity with an audience that really trusts them.
Yeah.
So we sent them our product, We said style it however you want, photograph it however you want, write whatever you want. The only requirement is that it has to sit in this module that's on your website. And what we call this whole entire experience is called Style By, and it's been wildly successful for reaching a younger customer. And it's because of these partners.
I mean, you guys are talking about content is clearly very important. Why? Are you using it as a direct selling tool? If not, then how, then why are you investing it, and how are you sort of measuring your success there?
I mean, I think you can definitely measure success with just traffic. I mean, first of all, initial traffic to the site, normal, versus launching something. Last year, we did something called Something New York. We rolled it out, Something London, we did Something Seoul, and you just see immediate pickup in traffic, page views, and actually sell-throughs on those specific products that you're putting out there in that capsule.
Yeah, we've seen a few things. One is that there's absolute results when it goes to traffic conversion and sales. We've seen it with Style By, we've seen it with other things that we've done with partners like Hello Giggles. When you create highly visual, highly editorial content that's aspirational, and then you put that shopping cart experience within the content, people's proclivity to buy is 11 times higher. We've absolutely seen success with that. The second thing that we've seen success with is sentiment. So being able to change the sentiment of a conversation by creating great content. And the third is building relationships with the younger customer. So again, using that brand equity that this publisher has created to gain a younger customer. It's a strategy that we're absolutely going to employ in 2013 in a bigger, more global way.
Yeah, it's the credibility of really those partners that add a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry. I was just going to say, I think, even for a content company, we obviously also see the power of using social media platforms to, deepen the relationship we have with our consumers. We sell things too. We sell our magazines. We sell, products online. And I think, the ability to create something that's easily shareable is driving traffic back, driving engagement. We see the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Now, I see DKNY do so much on Twitter and Tumblr, and Facebook as well, obviously, and these are our platforms, channels that you own. Rachel, on the other hand, I'm hearing from you sort of you're tapping into Refinery 29 and other, where other different blog networks. Why have you chosen to invest sort of in your own channels, and why have you decided more to go through partnerships versus, investing in like a Gap Tumblr?
Sure. I'll start. I think it was the position of our brand. So, in the last 5 years, we were in a place where we lost cultural relevance. So Gap just couldn't raise their hand on their Facebook page and said, yo, we have hipsters in the office. We're really cool. It wouldn't have worked. So the strategy that we chose was to partner. It made a lot of sense for our brand. We didn't have a DKNY PR girl. We also built a brand new marketing team where we were redefining the brand voice. So this time we're redefining it through a community of people, because ultimately we live in this world now where we're constantly creating this persona for ourselves through other individuals. The content that we're sharing, the Instagrams that we're taking, what we're retumbling, our whole lives is about curation.
Which is, it's a great strategy also. I can't say that this was a big strategic plan. I think you evolve. It's all sort of evolution in this space. It's the wild, wild west for us, basically, that we're living through. So for me, it was more like, I've worked here for a really long time. I live and breathe these brands. I'm a PR girl. I live in New York City. Okay, fine, I have 2 kids. We'll put that to the side for a minute. I sound like maybe I'm 25, but I'm not. And it was more my view. I took the road of what is my perception of the brands I work at, not the brand's perceptions. There's a lot of things that I will say I don't like harem pants, for example. Don't buy them. We sell them, don't buy them. But that's just my opinion, take it or leave it. So we've been lucky that we've had the freedom to sort of express those kinds of things. So we sort of introduced our footprint, and then you see what works. Some things don't work, you pull back. Something works really well, you push forward. And we have very strong DNA, so we kind of felt like we have a story to tell. Every company I think goes through bad years, good years, but I think when you really think about brand DNA, which is something that you guys are going back to now, and your brand codes and like why you started in the first place, that's very strong for us. So we kind of use that, and that's why we have our own sort of real estate.
And Josh, earlier you mentioned, Conde Nast is developing these content experiences for advertisers. Who at Conde Nast is doing that? Is that traditional editorial? Do you have people who are dedicated to those kinds of projects?
Yeah, I mean, we have teams that are dedicated. The team that I run that's dedicated to working with brand partners to determine what might be an interesting collaboration. How do we help each other? How do we help move their business? And then
value added,
yeah,
long term, very long term.
It's but it could include our technology department if we're developing apps. It could include our editorial department, as it did with the GQ Gap example, where editors are helping determine capsule collections. So it ultimately touches a lot of the different people on sort of our side of the house. And I think again that's a competitive advantage for publishing houses that have this infrastructure set up to do this exact thing, and we can bring that to bear in an efficient way for our partners. I think it's a great way to collaborate. It's a great complement to sort of traditional advertising, which also still plays an incredibly important role.
I mean, at the end of the day, the skill set started in publishing, right? I mean, that is where, no matter what anyone says, at the end of the day, magazines still matter and print still matters. And I think just sort of parlaying the skills that have always been there into a new space makes perfect sense.
Yeah, but I do think that there is a skill in creating great content for the internet. Like, I look at someone like BuzzFeed, and BuzzFeed understands how to create great content for the internet. There are other traditional publishers that are still trying to figure that out. And as an advertiser, you need to recognize who can do that really well and who's still testing the waters.
Well, I think the difference with that is very clearly the insertion of a negative opinion. Because typically, I mean, we say this forever, like if your line was bad, okay, your magazines won't shoot it. It's not that they're going to say bad things about it. So with the advent of bloggers and BuzzFeed, it's like it's okay for them to say really bad things about someone's outfit on the red carpet. I don't think VanityFair.com is going to be as negative in their, they may have their 2012 best dressed list, and maybe they'll say negative things, but it's not the same.
No, but I think I'm talking about a slightly different thing. So with BuzzFeed, what they understand is, first of all, is static imagery is paradigm on the web. So as a brand marketer, and I deal with this a lot, people are always like, video, online. It's really, really hard to create great online video content, and then when you do, you have to put a lot of paid media behind it to get it to spread. But if you create content around subjects that people are searching for, which is what BuzzFeed does really well, most of the people that they have are matched. You have editorial, and then you have experts in search, and they're creating content that people are searching for. So there's actual skill in using data to create content. Yeah. So I think that's just a distinction.
Changing topics a little bit just because we only have 2 minutes left, but we've also seen, at the same time that brands and retailers are creating more content, we're also seeing publishers very slowly start to experiment with commerce. So far those have mostly been one-offs. We've seen Esquire and Clad, or Gilt's partnership with GQ, I think. And where is that going? I mean, are magazine publishers going to get into the affiliate business? Are they going to become retailers even?
Many of them already are, and there's numerous examples at Conde Nast and other companies of to your point, sort of the dipping of the toe in that sort of commerce experience. And I think it's very natural in the same reason that commerce companies are getting into content. They're connected, and we know we're creating a lot of demand. We know that we're driving a lot of sales ultimately, but it's never really happened in our spaces. That said, I do think that transition is a little bit more difficult than the other way around. I mean, the capital investment required to sort of really get into commerce is in many cases sort of greater than it is to get sort of into content. And so, having an affiliate link program, creating ways for people to shop from magazines or our websites is different than actually carrying inventory and getting into shipping and customer service. And so there's, there's sort of, a limit to what you can do without, really investing on the commerce side. I think we'll see it. I think it gets sort of incrementally better, every time you try something new. But, I don't know.
Lucky is great. I mean, not every magazine is meant for that. But
right.
Lucky,
some are custom built for it. But I have yet to see, and maybe you guys know, sort of a real major scalable sort of example of content having fully got into the commerce business. But there's certainly a lot of interest in.
No, I mean, I think Net-a-Porter really started the sort of whole idea of editorial content within commerce, and I think we've all sort of had our own versions of that, but it'll happen. I mean, certain magazines, I mean, Lucky, I think, is clearly one that could really do that out of your portfolio.
As they are a shopping guide.
As they are a shopping guide, yes.
But, I mean, what do you guys expect that experience to look like, right? Because right now I'm on my tablet maybe, and I'm reading Lucky, and I've got to click off to a third-party site, and then I've got to check out there, enter all my credentials. Are you guys working to make that more seamless? Like, do you expect to have a shopping cart, like, on magazines' websites?
There's actually, there's a shopping cart functionality on Lucky right now. There's a section of Lucky where you can shop from some of the edit and put things in a cart. Fulfillment still happening off the site. I think the tablet's actually a really interesting device for this convergence. You're seeing amazing numbers about, basket size from people shopping from tablets exceeding what they're spending in store. I think the tablet's a great sort of, content device. So I imagine we're going to see some of the most sophisticated iterations of this convergence on the tablet, and that's certainly something we've been looking at.
I think the trend that we're going to see over the next year is because of technology like Stipple or Illuminate, and if you're not familiar with those two technologies, what it allows you to do is embed a shopping cart into a static image. So I do think what we're going to see is, one, editorial destinations build stronger affiliate programs, and two, retailers getting a lot more comfortable with this idea of open shopping cart. So this idea that, say you really like something on Gap, and then you pinned it, and when you go to Pinterest, there's a shopping cart experience there, but then your friend decides to tweet what you pinned, and it goes to Twitter, the shopping cart experience is still there. So all of a sudden, you're going to be able to shop from wherever you are on the web, because technology is now allowing us to embed shopping carts into static images. So I do think that's what you're going to see over the next 2 years.
Great. So unfortunately, we are out of time. But it was so interesting because we got to hear about, you guys are investing in content, but that in no way, luckily you still need people who are good at content, who are specialists in that division, and we can expect to see more retail partnerships with content producers. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.